Standing just behind the physical appearance world is the beautiful world of spiritual reality, the world of the music of the spheres, the world of infinite harmony and infinite love. Will you come with me then this day, when men are still in wonder over the landing of men upon your earthly moon, and understand that we must enter a world of interplanetary reality, of intergalactic manifestation, of universal harmony, where the one infinite Spirit manifests? Will you come with me then into the realm of the music of the sphere? Will you understand what it means to move in a cosmic stream of harmony? Through the attuning of your ears with the aspects of concordant sound, you are able to enter in part, to the delicate, subtle, and magnificent beauty of the inner music behind the music of manifestation. As you enter then a realm of higher spiritual music, called the music of the spheres, you can cascade between the planets in a state of marvelous consciousness. You can journey from one luminous orb to the other and know what it means to travel on waves of harmony, to be a part of the beauty of the cosmos as it derives its nourishment from the vital world. For the world of form is only a partial link with reality. Reality being contained in the solar whole, in the soul, in the consciousness of immortal life, deathless, birthless, without a waning of strength, the pulsing of the infinite causes ever new crescendos of reality to appear before the vision and to immerse the total consciousness in the wonder of the higher manifest state, the divine state. Today, men are surfeited in delusion. They are troubled on every hand. They seek the answers in outer things or in the subtleties of intellectual comprehension. We who deal with living harmony, who understand the meaning of the harmony of perfection, we who know the great cosmic surge of the realities of the infinite, continually desire to expand our knowledge into the dimensions of humanity. But we long now for the infinite, and I use this term guardedly, the infinite musicians of ages now past that were able to catch those immortal glimpses of the field of the angels and bring those subdued harmonies into expression here below. For today, the awful cacophony that manifests as a counterfeit of music is a distortion that jars the soul and brings in those jagged concepts that lacerate the marvelous membranes on which God would write with pencils of living light the beauteous notes of infinite harmonics. Will you then, as you grasp these principles, understand human need? and understand also how that we come with God's speed to produce new art forms, new forms of music, and even new instrumentation. And as we apply to the Karmic Board for the development of new and marvelous musical instruments, do you know why we have been turned down on some occasions in these grants? It is simply because in weighing the matter, the judgment of the Karmic Board has always been, shall we now afford the mankind of earth who have already taken the awful distortions that they have sought to bring forth and call them real unto humanity? Shall we now pledge to them new energies, new concepts, and new instruments to further their destructive manifestations? And the answer has continually been no. But now we have applied our hearts to the Karmic Board with new and fiery intent. We have asked them, will they do something about it from a renewed aspect? And the answer has been that we will bring forth new instruments to the children of this age that we will keep partially concealed for a time, until such a time as new and glorious music of the spheres can be produced to men below and shown forth as new art forms of radiant hope to this planet. Let all who hear this dictation or who read it in any form understand the awful responsibility in the constructing of the instruments of the angels. Let them understand that the use of these higher forms of electronics and the laws of vibration must also bring about the attendant sense of responsibility. Those who produce the instruments must also produce attunement to produce the music. For a time at least this must be done, until in the hands of the devotees of the light it will at last be possible to transform the symphonies of the world into cosmic choirs and cosmic musicale. Knowing the power of music to soothe the awful manifestations of shadow structures that rise from dark ages past in human consciousness, knowing the power of music to heal the manifestations of subtle darkness lurking in the subconscious of man, knowing the power of music to seal the very destiny of the planet with light, we are concerned then that every one of you, taking knowledge of the term artisan, shall recognize that you are also vested by God this day with the responsibility of doing what you are able to further the cause of harmony upon the planet. All who personally will seek to produce beauty and order in their lives will be producing order and beauty for their compeers, for their brethren, for the children of God that serve with them. And as you, beloved ones, function organizationally to produce order and harmony in the lives of countless millions, it will bring about the renaissance of the culture of the angels upon the planet. For the angels stand now behind radiant and picturesque clouds of cosmic glory, veiling their radiant faces from your gaze momentarily, in the hope that you will produce in consciousness those states reserved for higher levels now, thus meriting a vision of their radiance, of their reality. when this shall come forth in your consciousness, when you shall understand the meaning of the cosmic muse, you will see that in music itself there is the pulsation of the mind of God, framing the harmonies of the ages and bringing them forth even as flower notes upon the scale of the staff of nature. Their myriad colors, as color tones, produce pastel beauty that may be drunk in by the waiting consciousness. Every flower then becomes a chalice cup. Every mind becomes a chalice cup. And one learns to sip, as do the bees, the nectar from the trees, from the flowers, from the verdure of nature, and then to understand that in the realm behind nature, behind the outer face, there is a more wondrous realm where serve in cosmic grace the stellar sons of immortal loveliness. Stella Novae, the new star that blazes in the consciousness, is the flower of cosmic hope. The world must learn to evoke from nature and from art, from the fount of music and from the reality of God, all of the joy that actually dwells there. They must learn to hear the subtle joy bells of the Spirit, to feel the pulsing tone that create the miracle of inner stillness in the consciousness. For when that stellar stillness comes, the face of God is mirrored there. And when that stellar stillness wons, the face of God is shown in prayer. O lovely cosmos, breathe out thy central essence of universal hope. Provoke mankind by the word thou spoke to see the flow of freedom in the air, to feel compassion breathing everywhere as life enjoined to exert itself toward purpose, victory. I reveal then to you one and all the harmonies of the angels' realm. Today, men live in an age of skepticism, which I could say is really satanic skepticism, for it keeps them from seeing the fountain of reality bubbling forth the joys of immortal life and immortal beauty to their gaze. It keeps them enamored of tinsel and bauble, of trinket and foible, and reveals not at all the story of nature's reality. It does not tell the story of the Father's love. It does not tell the story of glory from above, descending in ever new cadences of musical rendering. The music of the spheres, you say. Well, beloved ones, it will not be produced by blending humanity and God, but by humanity waiting on God, by humanity with cupped ear, waiting to hear the cadences of the Father's voice. For Adam of old, walking in the garden paradise, understood the need to listen to the voice of God manifesting in the cool of the day. And Aeva, the cosmic mother, in the ever-fulfilling drama, the new Eve, Maria Santa, the new Eve, the eternal mother, full of grace and hope, seeks to train her children to bring them up, to draw upon their countenances, stamping there the noble image of God. Then the spiritual ears will hear the muse. The voice of the muse will be heard again, and true music will convert men from darkness unto light. And every flower will produce its attendant miracle in consciousness as a cosmic note, light. And every flower will produce its attendant miracle in consciousness as a cosmic note. Joy bells, bluebells of power, fragrant lily of the valleys tinkling upon the stalk of the purity of the little sylphs of the air, communing with the angelic host and evolving their consciousness right there where they are. All of this will become poignant reality. Nostalgia from former times will sweep the consciousness beyond the pale of ignorance and the cockatrice den, beyond the pale of blackness and the sense of witchcraft and dark spirits of hex, beyond the spirits that have sought to fulfill themselves by controlling the destiny of others, back to the purity of the divine ideal, back to the image of God, back to the joy that manifested in Eden, back to the joy that is primal, pure, essential love. All this God is, all this is in the power of music, to lift men as upon waves of light and hope to the place where God is. For He is all that is real. He leads to the promised land. He seals the heart of man. He illumines the mind. Behold what God hath wrought. Behold what man can do as he takes the fire of the music of the spheres into his consciousness. And then, in that great celebration or feast of light, draws the divine symbols ever nearer, one by one, until they create within the consciousness a blazing sun. Then the voice of God can say, "Well done." Sign of the heart and the head and the hand to you. May the peace of your presence abide with you wherever you are, wherever you go. May the glorious peace of your presence flow through days of service and nights of rest. May the peace of your presence keep you blessed. Sign of the heart, of the head, and of the hand to you. May cosmic purpose, individually and collectively, be worked out through you, one and all, in His name, and upon the body cross, where the temple of light does manifest, where the rose of the soul frames its cosmic glow. There may you go within to commune with the essence of the rose, free from sin, the soul that glows, the soul that grows, the purpose of the rose, the heart of the matter, the spirit of the heart of the matter, the mater, the pater, the filial family, 3 in 1 and 1 in 3, and all in thee. So motive thee.
Blessed ones, with the voice of thunder from Olympus' height, cosmic and universal truth has already sounded forth the lost word. We come then today speaking to myriad hearts, to quiet the disturbances that mankind feel from time to time as they are pressed in the jaws of mortal affairs, so that their souls can scarcely stand against the onslaughts of the hordes of darkness and the confusions of the workaday world. We come to assuage the grief and the cup thereof that seems to overflow in man's consciousness, and to bring a sense of cosmic serenity to the soul. The soul requires the climate of perfect peace, but the soul today in the world is seldom able to feel that perfect peace because of, as I have aforementioned, the onslaught of affairs. We desire then that you would relax in your consciousness this day and drink in the beauty I am outpouring into the universe. There is nothing that I am doing and nothing that you can do in the name of your own beloved I am presence that is not first of all an activity of God from the heart of the great central sun. It is an activity which God first foreknew and which he started into activation from the moment of creation. For every idea starts with the active cosmic principle and culminates with the fulfillment of that principle in manifestation. There is always then the return of that principle from the world of form back to the formless as the dispensation is ended and no longer required. Individuals from time to time become attached to outer sets of circumstances, to persons, places, conditions, and things, so that their minds and consciousness are constantly filled with the idea of some disturbing enigma. This is because they are attached to persons, places, conditions, and things. If they then will take the fresh winds of freedom which I am causing to be blown here today, and accept the idea of being tethered to no sense of unreality, being tethered instead only to the sense of God identity, they will be able to know a freedom that they have never known before. And we are ourselves enamored with that idea. We are taken over by the idea of the students of the light being blessed with the cosmic understanding which we ourselves share in, the cosmic understanding which we ourselves are. For blessed and beloved ones, the sense of struggle that you from time to time engage in is completely fruitless. It never will produce a moment of peace or a moment of victory. Whereas the solemn surrender of the soul to higher motivation and purpose will itself do wonders for the rejuvenation of the whole consciousness. And our wish is ever to rejuvenate the consciousness. For after all, what is best for the bones of mankind is a sense of jollity, a sense of the joy, the joie de vivre of manifestation. Will you then enter in with me today to the understanding of your own crying need to be a thing apart from the clamor of the world? Will you enter into the idea of the benefits that can be conferred upon you by the simple act of setting aside the outer laws of manifestation for a time and entering into the fullness of the vibrancy of the divine idea? God is, and because he is, you are. Then we have a basic, simple binary action. The activity of you and the activity of God. And as the two of you become better acquainted, I am most certain that you will find a great feeling of cosmic exhilaration pulsing through your body and minds, and you will find that the vibratory action of that pulsation is an activity of freedom, of infinite light that you have never known before. And when that takes place, you will realize that all the time while you have been living in the state of confinement, in the state of almost what one might call a human stench, you are now free from that activity. You are relieved of the idea of bearing that burden anymore, because you realize that you are a living, immortal soul, made in the image of the Creator. And you suddenly find that you possess the power yourselves to create not only obstacles, which many of you have been creating down through the centuries, and in this life also to a very large measure, but you find you are at last able to create beautiful experiences of freedom and release them from your consciousness into the world of others, into the feeling world of others. And when you greet some individual and you actually come in contact with them physically by a touch upon the hand, or you come in contact with their aura, there is almost a joyous leap of the spark of freedom from your own auric field into the auric field of the other, so that at that blessed moment there is conveyed that solemn and wonderful ascended master love that we ourselves share at inner level. For you see, we ourselves have achieved. We have passed through the veil. We are now God-free beings, and in this state we are supposedly equal to one another. Yet I am certain that you realize there is an evolution of the spirit, even as there is an evolution of the human person or form of the personality. And so whereas the great God Self is evolving in a sense by himself, there is also a personal evolvement that takes place for the individual. And this simultaneous wonderful evolution of cosmic intelligence is a most magnificent thing, for one never really knows just what is going to happen when we turn a cosmic corner, you see. And therefore, when we do, we sometimes have a saying which you use also on earth: expect the unexpected and rejoice. And therefore, when we find that someone is there that we had not anticipated, for example, if the great divine director were to travel to the planet Venus and there to establish himself in solemn conclave, and was expected to be there for a period of 3 weeks of your earthly time, and we were holding a solemn meeting in the Grand Tetons, and he would present an appearance quite suddenly, it would be a matter of expecting the unexpected. We just never know when some joyous experience of meeting a very highly evolved being will come about and bring a surge of the fire of infinite joy into our souls. And I tell you, when you are able to enter into that joyous experience that we have in greeting one another here upon this planet, you will not be looking upon that old bag of bones in that old frame and saying, well, there they are again, that old bag of bones in that old frame. Instead, you will dispense with it and say, away with that. Now we are going to enter in to a consciousness of the Spirit, and we are going to say, we are greeting a living person, someone who is real, someone who is eternal, and we dare not offend the eternal flame. And therefore, born out of the great grace and courtesy of our realm, we are going to act the part while we are here below, knowing certainly that if we do, it will assist us to achieve our victory and our freedom much sooner. And after all, blessed ones, is it not our desire that we should have our freedom now? Would you not really like to enter in to a feeling of your freedom today? Why would you put it off if you were able? Only because you are unable do you put it off. And therefore I say, realize now and always that every activity of God, every activity of your infinite eternal presence that takes place in the force field of your being is an activity that moves you just that much closer to the blessed day of your ascension, when you will finally for the last time bid this old bag of bones goodbye and transmute it by ascended master light radiance into the own fiery perfection of the fiery world, when you will at last see every lineament of form glow with the fires of perfection, and say, goodbye rheumatism, goodbye arthritis, goodbye every condition that I do not want, that I do not like, that I will not have. Blessed ones, there are some of you who are actually suffering from various outer conditions. And I want you to know that from time to time, whenever we can, we do by cosmic law alleviate those conditions and give you a new burst of freedom for a time. But after all, you must remember you have a saying, you must pay the piper. And when mankind have created great karmic weights in the past, it is not always easy for us to set them all aside. And some of them come as a thorn in the flesh in order to produce a greater measure of understanding to individuals down here below, so that they will be able to walk more circumspectly and more aware of the problems of their contemporaries and of all humanity. Oh, how we desire then to see you enter into a state one of these days, and it may not be long for some, when you will actually share in a session at our level, when you will participate in your whole total being in a session of ascended master love and radiance. For when that occurs, I tell you that you will find in looking backward into the time stream that many of the experiences that were so distasteful to you at the time that they occurred were very marvelous in their total effect upon your being, and therefore heaven will stand vindicated before you. You will find that heaven itself is free from any criticism from your level, and you will say, after all, God did know best. You will say, the ascended masters knew best, my divine presence knew best, my holy Christ self knew best, and I myself didn't. And now I am glad that every action that took place did, and I wish I had said instead, hurry the process up, St. Germain. I don't mind it a bit if I can only have my freedom. But I would like to inject a little note of caution here. Some of you are perhaps a bit too eager to leave this world of form, to leave this bag of bones. I would like then to tell you this afternoon that we have a very definitive cosmic service for many of you to carry out in the world of form, on which is dependent, mind you, the freedom of generations yet unborn. And we are not just about to release some of you from the vows you made at inner levels to stay here, not till the last dog is hung, but certainly for a period of time, and a time that is so necessary in order to teach humanity and show forth those experiences in your own worlds that will produce the miracle of cosmic perfection in the mind and being of those individuals today who are in outer darkness and do not know which way to go. We are concerned with the freedom of men, of all men. And here is the strange thing. Some seem to confine their friendships to those that happen to be affinitized with themselves. We want to point out to you that when you have friendship with God, it should be a general radiation from your whole being, from the total periphery of being, so that there is no dark spot in the hemispheres of consciousness that will have to be cleansed by the ascending angels in the final purification of your being. And I assure you that if you think that I am joking about this, when you actually pass through the veil after 51% of your karma has been transmuted, and you find yourselves in our octaves of light, that every single jot and tittle of movement in your world that has been the wrong way will have to be corrected of the other 49%, and so you might just as well set about straightening up as much of the matter as you can today. You will have less to do in the hereafter, and you will much more quickly come to that state. Beloved ones, I think there is a great deal then to be said for attitude. The attitude of the students is so dreadfully important. And the reason I say this is that we have seen individuals come to within a matter of 2 or 3% of obtaining their ascension, only to find that their attitude suddenly changed to a point where they became overly confident. They felt that after all they had borne many things, and with almost an injured air of suffering, they decided that they would remain here for just a little bit longer. Well, beloved ones, when they enter into that attitude with a sort of abject and injured air, they may find that they are here a good deal longer, sometimes for centuries. For I want you to know that each lifetime is a glorious opportunity, but individuals have to be willing to submit to whatever the pressures of their presence are. For once you have dedicated yourself to the law, once you have dedicated yourself to the fulfillment of that law, once you have dedicated yourself to the fulfillment of cosmic Christ consciousness, you no longer have any rights. Those rights have been subjugated to your cosmic God self, and it is rightly so. You should understand then that when human whimsy is used to interfere with the divine plan, it is a sorrowful activity on behalf of those individuals engaged in it. And I tell you that individuals ought to be glad then when we come forth and declare in their midst, wake up and shed that idea. For it is not a cosmic Christ unified idea. It is an activity that will keep you bound to the senses, that will keep you bound to human reason, and discount all of the magnificent God plans that stand before you from day to day. Understand then that the weight of human pressures is often accepted by mankind, whereas the tremendous joy of the Spirit, the tremendous weight of cosmic law that has descended to you through the countless avatars that is spoken, is overlooked. And when it is overlooked, the beauty of the Christ identity seems to fade from the vision, and all of the oppressive activities of the world seem to close in upon one, almost as in Edgar Allan Poe's prose. One feels then almost as in The Pit and the Pendulum, or the activity where the walls were closing in upon the individual. Understand then that this is the reverse of the condition we wish to create in your consciousness, and therefore today I have asked for a dispensation of the descent of 10,000 angels into the city of Los Angeles while I am speaking to you. I have asked for a descent of light, as every ascended master does from time to time. I have asked for a descent of the fire of the spirit of these angelic beings to saturate the people of Los Angeles and the entire country, the nation, and the world with some recaptured identity of who mankind really are. For there is nothing that we want so much for the dear people of this earth as for them to know their freedom and to retain that knowledge, active in the very nexus of life, ready to spring forth at any moment and capture a given situation for God. This is what men must do, and I thank you for your rising tribute. Won't you please be seated? This is what men, ladies and gentlemen, must learn to do. They must learn to capture moments for God. They must learn to see negative situations before they can develop and become a full-blown flower of delusion. They must learn to pull that ugly weed that would put forth its seed and then manifest in the world of form, in their world or in the world of others. It doesn't make any difference whose world it is. They must learn to capture that idea. They must learn to capture it before it has come to blossom. They must learn to squelch it. They must learn to recreate and to seize the opportunities of every moment for God. Seize those moments for God. See how you can create a cosmic miracle of beauty and perfection every moment of your lives. Be ready to accept it. Be ready to find the fires of freedom. Bank them when you must, but stimulate them whenever you can. We understand that you are from time to time with individuals who would not exactly like your exuberance. They would not exactly like the idea of being free. This is a very strange thing, beloved ones. But individuals are actually, mind you, they are actually engaged in a situation where they are most uncomfortable, and yet they continue to accept it almost, as we might say, knocking their heads against the wall as a thing of joy. But it isn't really, you see, for individuals are often hurt when they do, and hurt far more than they realize, for the etheric body is also affected. Won't you please understand, beloved ladies and gentlemen, how you can then straighten out the various strata of your world by the mighty powers of your decrees, by the violet flame, by all of the beautiful songs and melodies that are consecrated to realign your four lower bodies with the harmonics of your cosmic I Am presence. For your I Am presence is the fire of wonder. It is the star of beauty. It is a fire of hope. It is the radiance of your starry body. It is a fire of immortal light. It is everything that God is, for it is God. and it is within your forehead an embryonic star, a pranic star doorway, awaiting opening into the wonders of the spiritual world, where controlled media, controlled by your I am presence, will produce the beauty of cosmic scenes and victories. Right now, while I am speaking to you, and I urge upon all of you a state of solemn respect for me, for after all, I am Saint Germain, and I think that perhaps if you will have a little more respect for me, I can do a little more for you. Now, beloved ones, I'm not speaking to you who are my old friends of the centuries. I'm not speaking to those. I'm speaking to some of the new people here who are not quite familiar with me and my fiery thoughts. I want you to understand that I witness every thought that passes, even the tramp thought, through every one of your auras and force fields. I am aware of the situation of this day. I am aware of the longevity of it. I am aware of all the little problems that are in your world, but I assure you that you are not going to alleviate them by terminating my conversation with you before I am ready to stop. I really am not proud. I am only proud of the God within you as I am with the God within me. I am proud of the God within us all, for He is the strength of our right arm and the strength of our heart. He is the communication of wonder to every child and to every man-child. What is the meaning of man-child? It means a man who has learned to be a child, even as the child first learns to be a man. And after he learns to be a man and comes up to that stature, he then says, "Dear Father, I am a real being." And the father looks down at this little child, man, and he says, "Son, learn to be a man." And this is what I'm trying to convey to you today, the idea of maturity, the idea of saying to God, I am truly mature. Say it if you will, whether you are or not, for God Himself will know the truth of it, for He made you mature, He made you perfect, He created you to be all that He is, in righteousness, in strength, in the fire of His mind, in the peace of your being, in the very wonderful sense of control of the forces of nature, both within the domain of your personal person and the outer world of form. How wonderful He is! How joyous your heart should be this day as the flame and fire of His presence begins to literally bubble up as a cosmic spring right from within yourself. Can you feel now the activity of joy which I am pulsing into the atmosphere? I have asked the 10,000 angels that descended to Los Angeles to actually join me in surging out from this center the love and the fire of the real being of man that will develop real people, that you may all learn to be real people, children of the infinite Son, children of the infinite heart of God, children of reality, of the sea, the eternal sea, little drops of water and fire and earth. And we will burn up and transmute the earth element, leaving the beautiful water element to be presided over by the sacred fire. And in that sacred fire, each drop thereof, we will reflect the sacred fire into the water element. And then, you see, we will have produced the miracle of control of the emotional body by the fiery etheric body. And when that miracle is produced, when the soul is able to enter into its great equanimity, its perfect harmony and balance with the eternal presence, I want you to know that the atoms of your being will glow with the sacred fire, that you will be able to control the joy that flames out from your fingertips as the healing power of God to enter in not only to your own personal affairs and minister as the hand of the living infinite Christ, but also to reach out into the whole world of form and heal the social diseases of humanity wherever you go. This is going to require consecration, beloved ones, and a more than ordinary consecration. That is why I have come forth today to speak to every keeper of the flame. That is why I myself am lit up by cosmic fire. It is because there is a need in the world of form for mankind to have contact with more than ordinary beings. And you see, there just simply are not enough cosmic masters to go around. Everyone says they want a cosmic master. Everyone wants someone that is great to be their special personal teacher. Well, beloved ones, I regard myself as the personal teacher of many, but really of all mankind. And I think every ascended master shares with me the joy and service that we feel. And therefore, as I speak to you today, it is to knit together the body of Christ in a spirit of infinite love. We do not need more schisms. We do not need more divisions. We do not need human rudeness. We do not need human viciousness and disrespect. We need a spirit of cosmic harmony that will flow between the various elements of the body of Christ upon the planet. We need it badly, and we need it constantly. We need an entering into a spirit of purity in reverence for life. We need an entering into a spirit of consecration to mortal and immortal ideals. Why to mortal ideals? Because the only way you are going to actually immortalize mortality is by consecrating it too. You must understand then that some things are infinite by human regard as well as by content, and other things are not. When you understand all of this, you can see the need to consecrate even the things below to God. You may consecrate the flames. You may consecrate light. You may consecrate music. You may consecrate flowers. You may consecrate your bodies. You may consecrate the power of vision. You may consecrate the power of your tongue. You may consecrate the power of your ears. You may consecrate the power of your brains. And let the light of God flow over the pia mater and dura mater of the brain. You may let the power of God flow through your body with its delight. And I tell you, when you do, you are going to never be the same again. For God's hand and God's fingers have a way of clinging to the cosmic reality and identity of man that cause him to say, my Father, my God, how grateful I am that thou art. And when men and women throughout the world can come to this persuasion, when we can actually bring from the octaves of heaven the marvelous paintings that Leonardo da Vinci and many of the other great masters, Michelangelo, Raphael, Titian, Rembrandt, and others, brought forth in part, when we can create the ancient Greek art of masonry, when we can create the beautiful statues in the halls of this planet, and let the expectant mothers throughout their period of gestation gaze upon these statues and see the lineaments of beauty and perfection reflected there, when it can once again bring forth for the mother of the world the beautiful concept embodied in the Knight's Tower, in the shrine of the Immaculate Conception in Washington, D.C., as it was intended to be lowered from higher octaves, you will understand that every man becomes automatically a knight champion of womankind. His purposes then are not to dethrone the beauty and perfection of life into a sordid activity of sex, but to produce in its place a sacred and beautiful, noble image of God, a temple most holy, as Mary, the mother of Jesus, did in her manifestation of the Immaculate Concept. And I, who stood by her side as Joseph long ago, say to every one of you that America and the world must be redeemed, that the torch of freedom must be upheld, that the light must go forth, that the death knell of darkness in pornography and wrong and brutal activities that defame the Spirit of God must be destroyed and blotted out. I mean every word of it. And when I tell you that I have this day vested in you a cap and gown of cosmic light, that you might be a graduating class even today who will accept it in the soldiers of light, those who will go forth to recognize your role in identifying with the keepers of the flame, the men and women who will keep the flame of God burning upon the altars of this planet, then you will be pleasing not only myself, but you will be pleasing first and above all your divine, holy God presence and holy Christ self, and you will be striking a blow for God. Long ago, when Gideon brake the pitchers, releasing the fire of the flame from the pitchers, and he said, a blow for the Lord and for Gideon. It is that spirit that today impels me to say, upon the holy mountain of God, let us break the pitchers, Let us shatter the illusions of the ego, which are the symbol of the picture, and let the inner light of your being shine forth. Let the inner light be all that you are. Let the inner light speak for you. Let the inner light reveal who you are for you. Let the inner light be all in all to all people. And then make your cry at cosmic levels for Saint Germain and for the Lord. And we will win for the living Christ a beautiful world and secure for posterity and its bastions for all time to come the golden age come again. I thank you. Hail, thou fountain of eternal purity! Hail, thou fountain of all righteousness! I am the Lord thy God, that will bring thee out of the land of bondage, out of the land of Egypt, and into the land of eternal promise. O beloved heart, children of the light of Los Angeles and the world, hear now, the seal of God is opening. There is a great trumpeting of reality in the higher atmosphere as we are proclaiming the birth of the immortal identity of man within the domain and force field of every child of the light. We proclaim the reality of God as from the fount of a giant lily, the lily of cosmic purity. I am the archangel of annunciation, and I stand before every woman, before every man, and before every child of the earth, and I say in the name of Almighty God, light shall bring forth the divine man-child within. Light shall produce a sense of reality and freedom from sin. Light shall cast out the darkness, and the hallowed circle shall expand. We come then today in the name of God, mindful of the purity of his purposes, mindful of the purity of his desire, mindful of the purity of his flame, to saturate the earth and the planet thereof with the substance of the immortal reality of life itself. Man should understand that the consciousness of God, that is the reality from which all things have sprung forth, is manifest within themselves. They have a little of the manifestation of the divine consciousness within, and that spark requires their nourishment through applying to the eternal fountain of life, that is the living Christ within, for a continual day-by-day magnification of that flame. For every angel, every cosmic being, every part of life that is called the domain of heaven stands ready, waiting and willing to assist every child of earth to find his freedom. And freedom is the nature of the soul. Freedom is the nature of being. Freedom is the power of heaven by which all things were created and by which all things are sustained. Even as I am speaking to you, I see now myriad angels coming and carrying censers of light. These censers are filled with the coals from the high altars of heaven. They are filled with these coals and these living flames, which are taken from the very altar of God reality. And they are now emptying them into the atmosphere in order to convey a greater sense of the reality of God's love to mankind below. Understand then how, by stopping the process of mortal thought and feeling, by saying to your higher self, peace, be still, peace, be still, peace, be still, and know that I am God. You will be able to activate that higher self, your own beloved God presence, your own beloved reality, your own beloved Holy Christ self, until the very face of your own radiant identity may become visible to some of you, and you will be able to see the voice of God actively manifest as the living Word in the atmosphere, even as was written long ago upon the temple walls, Mene, mene, tekel, upharsin. So you will now see the visible manifestation of the living Word of God, the divine Logos, the first word of creation by which all things were framed, the lost Word, the power of the lost vibratory action, the power of the sacred fire, the power of cosmic energy that is buoyant within yourselves. You will be able to feel, to know, and to enter into the reality of who you are and what you are. You are a drop of the infinite ocean of divine love. In you there is in reality no darkness. For all of you that really lives is God. And that which seems so often to be real that is not, is but a shadowed thing, a qualification, yes, but what we will term a misqualification all the way. For the screen of God's pure light comes down into your heart and beats your heart and sustains the activity thereof. And then, through a sense of wrong, through a sense of unrighteousness, through a sense of condemnation, you misqualify energy. And lo and behold, as it passes through the lens, you then project onto the screen of light the substance of misqualified energy, which all must be redeemed. It must be redeemed by the correct use of the sacred fire, by accepting the power of God to wrought change. You will remember, beloved ones, how long ago when Samuel Morse created the instrument you call the telegraph, the first words that he sent forth, "What God hath wrought," spoke to mankind of the deity in expression. What God hath wrought. Yea, beloved ones, if you will enter into that consciousness and forget the ideas that involve your former concepts and precepts, you will be able to feel the great life stream energy that flows from the very throne, which means ultimately, as it should be understood, the three-in-one power of the sound of the infinite as he goeth forth not only into the side of the north, but throughout all cosmos to create an activity of joyous response to his ministration. Life is meant to be an activity of freedom. Life is meant to be an activity of joy. Life is meant to be an activity of infinite freedom. Therefore, won't you now accept me as I stand before you and announce to you individually the coming of your own living Christ presence into a more approximate status to your individualized self? Won't you understand this? Won't you accept it? Won't you realize it and try now to enter into the heart of it? Precious ones of the light, it is not always easy for us to make these appearances. It is not always easy for us to come forth as we now are doing. And we come forth in order to bring you courage, in order to bring you a sense of reality. And it must always be the timeless reality that we bring forth. It cannot be related to merely this present moment, but it must be related to the ever-eternal now. The eternal now that speaks in consciousness, "Peace, be still," to all discordant outer thoughts, that speaks to all and declares to all, "The Lord thy God that hath made thee and the earth and all things that are, intends and has intended from the beginning the producing of absolute harmony in a transcendental manifestation of himself." This means, beloved ones, that heaven is progressive. It means that your life is eternal. It means that your life must become far better in the future than it is in manifestation at the present, simply because it already is in the eternal now. If you accept that, if you will let drop from you the scales from your eyes, you will be able to understand that not only is this room surrounded by cosmic beings and angels with drawn swords, but also your own lives are protected by the infinite power of God as he himself radiates forth into the universe the infinite plan for each planetary orb to manifest in due time its perfection. And I say to the people of this earth that what you call free will has in reality been a cause of much harm to mankind, yet there was no other way. For free will is necessary if men are to achieve and become all that God intends them to achieve. And therefore the Lord of love that came down from above, that descended to this planet in each individualized manifestation of himself, did so with the full intention of maturing each individual into that state of pure God selfhood, where the individual would know no sense of limitation, no sense of darkness, no sense of shame, and feel no sense of fear, but would enter each day as a great chariot of fire, moving with the sun from the east unto the west. This is the appearance of the Christ. As the lightning cometh forth from the east and goeth unto the west, even so shall the coming of the Son of Man be. This refers to illumination. It refers to the power of God that acts in your world, the power of illumination, the power of the central sun, the driving, motivating power that is the joy of life, the joy and expectancy of each moment. When you accept that, when you accept the power of regeneration to free you from all discord and shame, you will be able then to enter into a knowing of your God as he really is. For you will see him as he is, a being of such beneficence, a being of such adoration, a being of such beauty and consciousness as mankind has seldom known. Yet in golden ages of the past, some of this was brought forth in art and in science and in beauty, and all of the manifestations which are today so wondrously hailed upon this planet as human achievements are in reality a descent of the intelligence of God through the consciousness of mankind, which enables him from the time he enters the field of life as a babe to grow up and mature in a very short span of years and to achieve a gnosis of all which is manifestation. Now then, man has grown up and attained a gnosis of outer manifestation. Let him understand what it means to unravel the hidden mysteries of the heart. What he can do then will be as nothing to what he has done now. For I tell you that the power of the future to unravel and to meet the challenges of the future lies in the domain of the mysteries of God which we speak, which the apostles spoke, which the great prophets have spoken, and which is the mystery of being within. The being of man, the being ergo sum, must be understood. Man must understand who he is. Man must understand the challenge that I bring this day. Man must understand the power of the fire of annunciation. I announce to you that you are a son of God, and that holy thing which shall be born of thee shall be called the Son of God. Out of the light of the being of the divine nature shall come forth the divine man-child for each individual, and the living Christ shall show to all that they can wear the wedding garment and truly meet the Lord in the air, not in the error of their ways, or in a false expectancy that is not grounded in the soundness of the eternal teachings of the brotherhood and of the brotherhood of angels and of men and of elementals. For all life is one, and we would make of the many one. We would make of the many one. We would make of the many one. One in consciousness, one in purity, one in joy, one in the effulgence of the divine will, one in a sense of the music of the spheres, one that is able to hear the soundless sound, one that is able to see the ineffable name, one that is able to feel the solemn flame of identity that blazed long ago in the temples of Atlantis and Lemuria. Oh, beloved ones, we would quicken all for the glory of God and the spreading abroad of the light of his presence throughout the earth. For the temples of old shall be builded again, and behold, I say, all things shall be made new. For the refining fires of the Spirit shall create, even in this age of darkness and ash, the hope of the eternal phoenix rising now to recreate out of the great triad of monastic perfection, the sacred symbol of ancient masonry, the lost word, the ineffable name, the power of the flame within the triune identity of the individual manifestation of the Son of God, the only begotten of the Father, full of grace and truth, the light of God that never fails, that beats all hearts, that is the power of God to victory for all lives, for the consummation of all things shall come about, because the flame that heals, the flame that seals, the flame that regenerates is one flame. Hear, O Israel, hear, O sons of the real, the Lord thy God is one. I, Gabriel, salute the family of nations. I, Gabriel, salute the United States. Remain, O flag, O starry symbol, remain, not as an empty symbol to man, but wave thy banner in hope to all nations, that they may partake of the essence of the divine mother of the world, as she unfurls her banner over all nations, kindreds, tongues, and peoples, to show the one living Christ revealed in every heart, that he who cometh with clouds may indeed be he that every eye shall see. I, Gabriel, from the Son, in the name of God the One, say, Resurgam Christos, peace be unto you, and may the flaming symbol of the lily, which I bear this day, be always a symbol of the immortal of God, the living flower that never fades, the hope that is for the ages, a torch of fire, a flaming flower, whose perfume of divine love penetrates the world, the dust, the atom, the stars, and all, and makes out of the light, through the crystalline triangle, the rainbow of eternal promise. Lo, God is with you always. Peace be unto you.
you, I, Hercules, Elohim of the first ray, proclaim the victory of the eternal cycles. Wheels within wheels, ever turning magnificently, pinwheels of blue flame, filled with the buoyant joy of the eternal Creator, flowers of living flame, and concepts without end. This is all captivated and released simultaneously from the buoyant, joyous heart of the eternal. For every cosmic being has cause to rejoice daily, hourly, momentarily in the passions of the eternal creative essence, as the universes themselves, operating according to the divine fiats, are releasing the spiritual power of purpose into the very fiber and core of the being of the universe. Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God is one God. Life is one. And in the passion of the one is born also the passion of the many. For the many return to the one, and the one sends forth the many. And in the beauty of the creative life that progressively moves forward, there is always the overshadowing love of the Father of all. He himself, in all of the majesty of heaven, rejoices constantly in the goodness which he is able to project forth into substance and matter. He is able to project it forth into the fabric of the soul, into the substance of the soul. And above all, it must be cognized, he is the Spirit of life, and the passion of that Spirit to draw unto itself the very substance thereof, that he may mold and shape it according to the highest pattern. Therefore I say, on the altar of flaming reality is born eternally new bliss, ever new joy, and the constant recognition that the paradise of reality is being bestowed upon the consciousness as it moves through the progressive cadences of the flow of life. Individualized or collectivized, mankind are able to perceive, when their eyes are opened, the wonders of the love of God. For the love of God is real. The love of God is tangible, creating the diamond shining mind of the God-victorious avatar. The love of God shows how consciousness can become a chalice to receive holy wisdom, how holy wisdom can be shared mutually by all parts of cosmos, how cosmos then, through the strands of holy wisdom, can also rejoice in holy power. For power herself is bestowed upon the universe and the individual in order that he may proceed in an orderly fashion to recreate the destiny which God himself foreknew from the beginning, and which he caused to be issued forth into the field or arena of action. Today, when the hearts of men are quaking, when they are filled with fear concerning what is coming upon the earth, we say, oh, let the scales of darkness fall from the eyes, that luminous orb, that radiant sphere that was intended to behold God. Let the scales of shadow fall, and let men see the blazing spiritual reality of their own finite being. Why do I, Hercules, call the finite being a spiritual reality? Because, beloved ones, all things are spiritual reality. All things that exist exists solely because of the reality of the spiritual power of the universe. Yet men outwardly gaze upon substance as though it had the power to create. I tell you today, it has no power except it were given to it by God. And God is a spirit, and you individually are sparks of the luminous, spiritual, cosmic density of that flame that is the living God. The living God seems remote to you from time to time, as though he were far away, or perhaps were not interested in what is going on here. I tell you that he who is Lord of the worlds is able to simultaneously cognize the action that is going on Arcturus, or the action that is going on this planet Earth, or upon your moon. It does not matter where in time or space events are occurring. They are all simultaneously realized by the one God, the creator of all who lives. For in him you live and move and have your being, and you are his offspring, as the poets have said, and as St. Paul long ago declared on Mars Hill. Realize then that the passion of the eternal is your own, that the power to transcend mortal limitation and even the karmic jar is within you. You can shatter the vessel of clay, even the karmic vessel. You can push out the walls that seem so self-limiting. You can expand the dimensions of being into our domain. You can cognize our reality even as you are able in part to understand your own. But when you do, it should be with a view to understanding the reality of yourself. For everywhere you go, everything you touch becomes the self. You touch me, and you say, I am thee. I touch thee, and I say, I am thee. For this is true reality. When men understand that the Lord God is one, that there is but one Spirit, that you all drink into it, that you all partake of it, that this is the sacred Eucharist, the body of God. The flow then of the Spirit through your transient forms. This flow is intended to be for the imparting of the divine nature to the outer self. The cornucopia is an image, and the cornucopia is a correct one, beloved ones, for it shows that there is a horn of plenty in the universe. There is an abundance of cosmic wisdom for all, and the mind can drink that wisdom without restraint. There is an abundance of power for all, and the being of man can drink that power. And there is an abundance of love coming out of the cornucopia that bears spiritual fruit and enables each individual to feel what the real meaning of life is. It is love. But when men have hate against substance or beings, they restrain the flow of love in that part of the universe related to themselves. For in every individual monad there is a gigantic spiritual map of all things created and sustained within. That map is the counterpart of every portion of reality everywhere. And whensoever an individual, by reason of their consciousness, brings down discord or darkness upon any part of life, whether it be a grain of sand or a continent, when they shun that part of life as though it had no reality, or seek to annihilate it, or say, never shalt thou be any more, at that precise instant, as though a pin were pricked upon that map at that exact spot, darkness ensues in the consciousness, and the individual carries then in their cup of light points of darkness. The qualification then of the universe within the domain of the individual as a universe of light, as a universe of spirit, as a universe of power, as a universe of reality, as a universe of strength, is the power of qualification within the domain of every individual. When men and women understand that, when they realize that they have the power to either subdue or correct or elevate the universe within the domain of themselves, they will see how that the link of reality is within the domain of the self, that the self is a cup intended to be quaffed by being. It is truly as the symbol of the serpent swallowing his own tail. For then men can understand the meaning of Christ's regeneration, that as Moses lifted up the serpent in the wilderness, even so must the Son of Man be lifted up. The lifting up of consciousness becomes a prerogative of the individual. And each individual must understand, beloved ones, that he has the power within himself to exalt the qualities of God, to exalt the qualities of love, to exalt the qualities of purity, to exalt the qualities of everlastingness. Then, when you understand this, you ask yourself, what am I doing when I am casting down life, when I am saying of myself, I am weak or sick or puny or unable to compensate the law for all the errors that I have committed? Do you understand that out of the abundance of God is compensation and redemption for every life stream? Do you understand the meaning of the living Christ that lives within you? The Christ that lives within you is the Redeemer of every life stream. He is crucified truly upon a cross of matter and upon substance, but you are able to rise from that cross of matter and pass through the epochal achievement of actually resurrecting every atom from the very core of the first atom within the heart, the seed atom of fire, to the final and last atom that shall be redeemed, whereby death itself shall cease to hold function in the domain of your consciousness. For the last enemy that shall be destroyed is death, and you must overcome all things by the mind of Christ that holds together cohesively the entire universe. I tell you, and I am Hercules. I am Hercules. I am Hercules, the Elohim of the first ray. And behold, the buoyant joy that I feel, shining like a sun in the universe, is beaming forth to the earth today, those regenerative patterns that will make each man the master of his own destiny. God has not intended that man should become a slave to his own passions and his own fears and doubts. He has been assailed too long by the dark ideas kept alive in the universe through misqualification. Beloved brethren of the light, the time is now and always has been when the canoe of self should be paddled by the self, and the waters of vicissitudes should actually be assuaged, because the consciousness saith unto the universe, behold, I am the Lord thy God that brought thee forth. And when individuals can understand this, that they themselves enter so completely into the consciousness of the eternal God, the All-Father, that they can actually identify with him and say, I am the Lord thy God that brought thee out of the land of bondage, out of Egypt, out of destruction, out of the material concept. Then men and women will be able to rise up and be that which they already are, beings of cosmic fire, fiery energy that on the instant is able to take command, as the magicians of old, over all substance and make it obey them. Their energy is intended to be commanded by themselves, not by outer concepts, not by the domain of darkness, not by the subconscious that is filled with the putrefying activity of centuries of misuse of energy. Nay, I tell you, it is intended to be a buoyant experience that will enable each day to become a day of victory, a day of achievement, a day when the wrath of God is directed against the misqualified substance, so that that substance itself, by the activity of the cosmic compression of the blue lightning of God's love, will yield the contents of its own unwholesome nature, and will yield to the transmutative efforts of the cosmic power of the universe. This is the Herculean power which you must call into action by your decrees, by the fiats that you make in your consciousness, in your rooms as you pass into the realm of sleep. Wherever you go, you must make the calls for victory, for achievement, for freedom, for light, and for power over all the darkness that men have created and that they continue to live in. The universe is a universe of light. You are intended to move on as a caravan of light, and to let that light be blazing substance everywhere you are. You are not intended to submit to human nonsense, to the dictates of mortal consciousness, either your own or others. You are intended instead to follow the patterns of the great white brotherhood in this marvelous caravan of light, the ongoing to perfection, where every demon and every point of darkness in the world yields itself to the power of freedom. Do you not remember how it is written in the Scriptures that the devils also believe and tremble? Yes, they believe, blessed ones, and they tremble, but they do not respond to the vibrations of obedience. You must obey the laws of God. You must welcome those laws because they are your own. You made them in your higher self when the universe was created. You were one with the Lord Christ. You were one with that great emanation of universal majesty. You were one with your victory. You were one then with God. And you today remain in our consciousness one with God, one with your own mighty I Am presence, one with the I Am presence in the heart of the great central sun, one with the I Am presence of all life, one with every angelic being, with every archangel, with every Elohim, with every blade of grass or drop of water or shining strand of substance or jewel of perfection. You are one with it all. The universe is not a multitude. The universe is one. And the hymn of the one sings as the hymn of the sun in all life. The central sun within you pulsates out hourly, momentarily, the continual pulsation of that life. This is the life of the Elohim. This is the life of joy. This is the life of buoyancy. This is the life of victory that transcends the hours and the centuries and the miseries of life that has been, that the former times may pass away, that all things become new in the ever graceful, blissful manifestation of the eternal presence in action right where you are. Where you are, there is a pedestal of being. Where you are, there is a pedestal of seeing. Where you are, there is the pedestal of perception. Where you are, there is the pedestal of perfection. All things were made by him, and without him was not anything made that was made. And behold, he is the light, and the light shines in the darkness, and the darkness has not comprehended it. But the light commands now the comprehension by the darkness of itself. The light demands now that the consciousness of the outer shall receive the communion of the inner, that the power of the Elohim, the seven mighty Elohim, shall blaze forth the dazzling jewels of perfection in this age to seal mankind 7 times unto their perfection, that the Christ in all may live victoriously, that life go free from her chains, that life go free from her blames, that life go free from her stains, that the purity of the snow-white dove of the universal, blessed and beloved Holy Spirit may descend upon the altar of every heart, surrounded by the wondrous passages and tones of cosmic music and the release of the immortal roses of spiritual power and the shining beam of the ineffable light standing forth now through the universe as a piercing beam to penetrate all that is dense in every consciousness and produce there the intent of the eternal forever and now and forever and now and forever and now. This instant, I say, let perfection stand forth, let perfection blaze, let perfection live, and let the power of perfection go on and on and on, and let men grasp perfection by the hand and say, lead me over the course of beauty unto my victory. I am one with God. I shall not fail. The light of God never fails. The light of God never fails. The light of God never fails. And your own beloved I Am presence is that light.